Hey, welcome back to part 2 of Alex's Basilisk. How we doing?
I love to podcast.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm in the right place.
Yeah. You had a good experience.
I had a good experience. I had a good experience. I think I possibly could have talked about my mom more. But there's always now for that.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to tell everybody who might not be able to see this, but Alex brought a bandana for his sweat and then a pair of house slippers for his feet and ease of movement.
A nice thing about getting older is greater comfort in putting slippers in my backpack and knowing that I'm doing the right thing.
It's really cool.
It is cool. I don't know anybody who does that for sure.
Neither do I.
You're a podcasting pro now. Do you want to start a podcast?
Elon did tell me that I should. I think he did listen to part of it. And
Everyone listening to part of these episodes.
That's why we're going to be laser focused starting perhaps now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right.
Right now.
Should I recap?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to do a recap.
So what we're going to talk about is the Zizians, and maybe in particular the enigmatic, terrifying figure of Ziz herself, arguably the Charlie Manson of the 21st century. Things they have in common include West Coast maniacal charisma, inspiring others to murder, seemingly great intelligence, or at least an effortless ability to convince people of great intelligence, and scary eye contact. Almost, you could say, basilisk-like eye contact.
So could you just give us a little brief recap of like what the rationalist community is?
Yeah. So bunch of nerds. I say that with great admiration and love. I do. A bunch of nerds in the Bay Area, in the wider tech scene, call themselves rationalists. This has now been, they've had a whole online community going for quite a while now, and they talk about how to think better and make better decisions and avoid biases. And, when you start reading their blogs, as I have done out of my recent obsession with Ziz and the Zizians, you discover that, I don't know, I find a lot of what they write insightful. I really like this guy, Scott Alexander. He has, for lack of a better way of putting it, really interesting takes on things. And then you kind of discover their quirks. The rationalists, perhaps because of being centered around Silicon Valley, are very, very, very focused on artificial intelligence. Very, very, very confident, many of them, that artificial intelligence is about to experience as Nick Bostrom put it, an intelligence explosion. And the next thing we know, we're going to wake up one day and we're going to be living in the Matrix or the Terminator, and computers are going to be so powerful that we will be helpless against them.
And so just to clarify, this group of people who are very preoccupied with AI and accelerating AI are also simultaneously very concerned that this AI will destroy them and all of us, and also potentially torture them until the end of time.
100%.
Which is, to me, an interesting dichotomy.
It's a paradox.
Okay.
It's a paradox. It's maybe sort of like how in the initial, I think that maybe a good comparison is how many of the most trenchant clarion voices warning about the dangers of nuclear weapons are people who helped make them happen. Oppenheimer, among many others, Daniel Ellsberg, who, literally was like in the belly of the beast at like a Pentagon think tank, and then turned around and was like, holy shit, we have plans to fucking wipe out hundreds of millions of people with these weapons. This is horrible. And then dedicated his life to raising the alarm.
But did he stop working on forwarding the bomb when he started raising the alarm, or did he do those two tracks simultaneously?
What I want to say, and this is, but I think maybe he just started. I think he just did the sort of classic whistleblower thing, actually, where he kind of used the remainder of his time with access to sensitive information to get as much of it as possible. And then by the time he was sharing that information, was persona non grata
Got it.
among the pro-bomb community.
But this is not the same in this rationalist community. It's not as if people are quitting their programming jobs or whatever to help build and forward AI. They're really just blogging about it.
Well, so I know that Ziz, this kind of main character, went to one of these like rationalist AI centers, Muri, right? Are they actively developing AI?
I think more talking about it, actually.
They're like a think tank about
Yeah.
AI.
But
okay.
Ziz went and was like, I alone can screen people. Okay, after short technical difficulties,
We're back.
So-
I just want to say I have like a brief Ghost in the Machine analogy, or like, what's that thing? Anecdote, which is the most recent Ezra Klein that he did with Ross Douthat, like where he's basically, Ross Douthat has this new book about how it's rational to believe in God or be religious. And Ezra's like, like I studies for like a godless Northern California. He's from Berkeley, And anyway, in the middle of it, while in a specific part where Ross is convincing him of why, like in a God of divine intervention, the ceiling, like something fell from the ceiling right in front of Ezra Klein's face. And he clearly like has this huge moment of like, he's like, dude, did you see that? Like he clearly like has this like earth shaking moment that he tries to like then get back into his like rational sort of like understanding of the world. And, anyway, it doesn't totally work. But anyway, there might be a ghost in the machine, but now there's definitely beeping outside, so.
That's fine. I feel like didn't the same thing happen with Freud and Jung?
Oh my God, totally.
Where
Whoa.
like their last meeting, there was like I don't know. I don't remember the story.
I mean,
but-
it's totally possible.
Wow.
But I was also just going to say, thank God we had Alex here because he made this really rational suggestion that we play back the tape just to make sure it was really there. And just in the meantime, I wanted to
So we were
Just
talking about
put that there.
on the record, I was completely wrong. And in fact, was tipped off to being completely wrong by the fact that I was giving the celestial Theodora, my wonderful girlfriend, the play-by-play of what recording was like.
Uh-huh.
And thinking that I was casting you as the sort of, irrational
Asshole.
person.
Pretentious.
Luminary, I was like, yeah, and whatever, Watership Down. And she's like, the book is called Tales from Watership Down. That's the title of the book. She's like, I can see it in my head. So, pride cometh before being an asshole.
but we admit our mistakes.
Yeah, we're all for restitution and restoration.
We take accountability.
Yeah.
Restorative justice is definitely the...
Yeah, we don't cast out, we call in.
We just shame our guests.
I was warned against laughing too loudly, but
Alex has an iconic laugh, but we had to
He's
coach.
been forbidden from using it on this show. Okay. Ziz came.
So Ziz went to Muri, which is this AI think tank, and was like, I think just showed up unannounced, no appointment, and was like, I alone have the inner faculties to screen people for whether or not they are good enough. Like, not technically good enough, but like spiritually good enough to work at this institution. And whoever she spoke to was like, I don't know who you are. You're really creeping me out. Like, I'm getting a terrible feeling talking to you. And they, like, Ziz was, dismissed. But my point is that I think a lot of these Zizians and a lot of the rationalists are like, I alone am special enough and I alone am smart enough to like steer AI into the right direction.
But here's what there's two things. And then later, Ziz wrote violent revenge fantasies about murdering that person whom she spoke with at Muri, who then like was stopped, told her that she couldn't have a job or dismissed her, right? Like, and that people were maybe somewhat concerned, but also quote unquote thrilled by these violent fantasies, which I believe have to do with like cleaving her skull in two and pulling forth her brain matter, like very violent fantasies. But I just think it's interesting that somebody who came out of a rationalist community is talking about basically like Platonic ideals of good and evil, which to me, if I were going to look at things rationally, I would maybe deduce that those black and white categorical ways of thinking don't really make sense in light of the myriad number of motivations that people have and the pressures that are placed upon them in this world. No?
1,000%. 1,000%. That totally, I think, hits on how completely... Yeah, I mean, my overwhelming impression of the extreme, not just AI obsessed, but specifically AI alignment obsessed rationalists, is that they have pursued rationality with such religious ardor that they have ended up in an ironically incredibly irrational place. More than anything, just, didn't notice the moment where they passed an invisible barrier and had become zealots, and had developed their own orthodoxy, and had completely set aside the just general baseline skepticism that, checks to see if you are wrong or not. At the same time, I do think that they started from really honorable places, right? Like wanting to make the world better, great, wanting to whatever. And it just, I don't know, you look at whatever, the Protestant Reformation versus the German Peasants' War, where, Luther has to...
Oh, yeah, just what I'm always thinking about.
Well, supposedly a lot of German peasants were like, wow, these guys talking about how the world is really unequal and unjust are right. Maybe we should kill the manor lord and take the bushels of grain and make a new world. And then probably Luther then has this kind of awkward moment where it's am I going to say that they're right? Am I going to side with them? Or am I going to maintain the institutional credibility that I have developed and denounce them? And he denounced them.
Obviously.
Which was, a good move in the long run, I guess, for the movement.
The
right.
Protestant movement.
Yeah, which of course we here, Americans, are white Americans. We are one more echo, right, of that. And so, yeah, it's and then, and so the German peasants didn't really get their vision of the world they wanted until arguably the French Revolution. And even then with great controversy, right? So yeah, it's Ziz basically seems to have ended up a Robespierre, in the sense of being very confident that they just know who to kill.
But Robespierre at least had good style, no?
I wouldn't be surprised if there are people emulating Ziz's style.
No, the other Zizians, right? Because isn't that their thing that they go around in black robes and masks?
There was an iconic, the really good Wired article in Wired magazine that did a long reported thing, I think in late February, kind of telling this whole story, which is probably a good thing to kind of give us context narratively. A key moment in all of this was when I think literally Miri, Ziz had maybe started to be outcast from the inner community. And at some point after that, the Miri folks had a picnic or some benign thing. So literally just an outdoor gathering somewhere in the Bay Area.
There were children there.
And there were children there. This did end up becoming relevant, legally speaking. And Ziz and several of her very close followers showed up in I guess, something like black robes and Guy Fawkes masks. I believe the idea being to protest against what they felt was the totally corrupt and unjust lack of agreement with them in the mainstream AI rationalist alignment community as to how to align.
Which
AI.
was basically they didn't give Ziz a job. Ziz applied for a job and then didn't get it, and then this protested.
Because she was super weird in the interview. Do you know what I mean? I just it's amazing to me that you can be super successful at creating a cult, but you can't even pass a basic interview without being I alone have the knowledge to judge. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of an interesting.
And if I was a hiring manager, I'd be this person is not giving takes direction well, works well with others.
Yeah, no, but at the same time, they had kind of at the same time, Eliezer Yudowski, not a German peasant from the 14th century, surprisingly.
Polish peasant.
Right. The mainstream rationalists very much, I would say, did plant the seeds of someone like Aziz, and I do not mean that to impute any kind
Impute away, babe.
of malign.
Please.
I do not mean to impute any malign motive on their part. You know, somebody like Udowski has dedicated his life to like how to think better, whatever.
To blogging. Let's be clear, he's dedicated his life to blogging.
That's one way of putting it, and I think it would be fair to also call him like a lay philosopher. And goodness knows that philosophers in the academy with tenure fall into all kinds of fucking bizarre rabbit holes and are right.
I know anyone who's studied philosophy in college, I'm always like, yikes. You
My
know what I
husband,
mean?
literally. Who I will say, I told you guys that, what's this guy's name? Eli?
Eliezer Udowski.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to repeat that. But so he wrote kind of a lot of people's entryway into the movement is this Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality. And Adam printed and bound copies of the book, which are in my apartment.
Wait, wow. I want to try reading it. His blogs are good.
Is the prose styling imitative of J.K. Rowling, or is it try to supersede and surpass it?
I have not read it, but I've been told many times that it's even better. But
this is what happens when there's no when people can't join like the nunnery or the monkhood. Do you know what I mean? That's my take on this. Like when there's no position in society for those who are perhaps, God, this is super cunty. Can I say this? For those who are like not well disposed to fit themselves into functioning society. You know what I mean? Where they don't give them an out, a special place to go. I feel like this is kind of what happens.
It's funny that the thing you were nervous about saying on a recording was the second nuanced kind of cerebral thing and not super cunty.
No, this is Trump's America, Alex.
Unfortunately.
I feel like who does fit in well with society? Certainly not.
Literally you.
Podcasters.
Sarah.
Yeah, but I've dedicated my entire life to it. It's been a great effort, and it's cost me dearly.
I can't. No. Look at you, bitch. What the fuck are you talking about? You are as all-American as they come.
Okay.
We have like Kate Upton who via Georgetown over here. Okay. You're the fucking picture of American acceptance.
Thank you. I
No,
appreciate
it's
that.
Beautiful. That's why we love you.
Okay. Well, but the proof is in the pudding. I did marry one of these philosopher outcasts, as you so.
Yeah, but look, there's one thing to print and bind the book. It's another thing to stop going to work, only text people, "Are you vegan yet?" Wear all black robes and masks, and then go fucking kill somebody. It's like matters of degree. I'm not trying to put Adam.
He only does some of those things.
Yeah, he only does some of those things. And like,
well, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so I was thinking about this after we recorded. I'm going to try to be not long-winded about this, but I was trying to get into this frame of mind of like, okay, how could I be a young kid who believes so deeply in something that I felt like I had to do something to save the world? And I actually did have a situation like that. About 10 years ago, I was at a private screening of a documentary about climate change. I'm going to have to think about what the title was. I'm not going to remember. With this filmmaker, Josh, who was like pretty famous. Anyway, there was about 35 people at this screening. And in the film basically talked about how like, and this was before people were kind of getting as wild with the predictions about climate change. Basically, this film was positing that like in 30 years, the earth will be largely uninhabitable. And as I was sitting there in that room watching it, it dawned on me over the course of the film that like, there was only perhaps in the world a very small group of people who truly had the full understanding of the desperateness of our situation, you know? And like when I walked out of that film, I was in a state of profound despair for years after seeing it. A despair. Now, did I have kids? No. So I had time to fucking wallow in my despair. But like it truly felt to me that the world as we knew it was coming to an end, and I and a handful of others were the only ones who understood it and therefore could accurately assess the entire situation. And that's how these people felt, right?
So put a black robe on.
But you know what
and you're resist.
So I'm in like, I could, yeah.
1,000%. And I very much know what you mean. I had a similar sort of like, I kind of accidentally self-radicalized in 2019 when I was living in LA, started reading like really intense anarchist leftists, decided that the balance of my life wasn't worth it morally unless I did something really dramatic to kind of stop, even in a small way, the, deportations happening under Trump and stuff like that. It was only later that I would find out or remember that, for example, Obama deported more people than.
And even in this administration, like per day, the number of people that are getting deported under Trump 2.0 is less than Biden was deporting.
So so it's like, that's kind of what I think I mean by starting from an honorable premise, and then what happens from there in the next few steps is like so dependent on kind of like banal, maybe like pathetic with a B factors, such as like one's psychological state, how much in touch one is with one's friends and family. Like, it's so violently reductive to say that someone like Ziz, or arguably the current figure known for deciding that the world needed saving and that killing was worth it, Luigi Mangione, it only is a few steps from there. What I was going to say is it's obviously way too reductive to say that a Luigi, a Ziz, a Unabomber, that these people have mental illness. That doesn't capture to me anywhere near the world of what I imagine being such a person is like. And it is obviously the case, I think, that you can start with principles and then end up crazy, depending on like external factors and circumstances that are unfortunately out of your control.
Have you guys read Crime and Punishment?
No.
Unfortunately not.
Okay. I digress. But there's
Ben is going to kill me. I'm sorry. Ben, I'm sorry.
The main character of Crime and Punishment basically has this theory that like what separates a normal person from a special person is this ability to like do, someone like a Napoleon who as means to an end had to like murder a ton of people, and like the character Raskolnikov, he believes that he like may be one of those people. And so then what happens in the book is that he carries out these actions and like basically tests like if he is one of these people. And I think what separates someone who like Ziz from someone like us or Raskolnikov is that like we're not so psychopaths. Like there's like an empathy, like you have to be devoid of something or have incredible belief in your cause, like Luigi.
Well, I just feel like, I guess my experience of focusing so deeply on my despair around climate, which I'm still susceptible to in moments if I allow myself to go there. For instance, I cannot watch nature documentaries because they will send me off the deep end with the mass extinction events that are happening. But I could see like with when I was reading about the Zizians and the kids who got drawn into it is like, yeah, if like you're constantly grinding on this obsession, which is like animal suffering, and the idea of like that somehow AI is going to compound that degree of suffering that we exercise on animals to human beings. Like if you get in the grind of that obsession, everything else falls away. So like maybe it's the singleness of purpose that certain people are able to achieve. Like maybe it's a virtue. Do you know what I mean? That results in these heinous crimes. I don't know. But there's this like myopic focus, which in despair, my familiarity with despair like is true of when you're in that state. It's like if you stay with it, it just winds deeper and deeper and deeper.
I think that's super real. And I think that is I appreciate coming at it from that kind of, that feels like a humanist, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like kind of maybe even capital H humanist. That feels like a humanist approach to a very real phenomenon that I definitely have dabbled in. And, regardless of why this ended up being the way that it turned out, I did not, thankfully, thank God, I did not decide to kill anyone, hurt anyone as a result of being extremely upset about immigration policy. Also not necessarily like taking care of my mental health. I think it's all kind of a mix, right? It's all in there, all those factors. I decided to go get arrested at a protest, was in jail for a couple hours, really disliked being in jail, got out and was like, what is like the US history of immigration policy and how does it compare to other rich Western countries? Okay, wait, this is a much more complicated picture than I thought. Not a virtuous picture, you know what I mean? It's not fucking Tiny Toons, but a much more complicated picture than I thought.
That's a convenient logic for someone who just found out they don't like being in prison.
Extremely true. That's extremely true.
Obama did it worse.
Ooh, wow. Yeah.
I know. No. I love the revolutionary fervor died in you real fast, Alex.
it
But you're a poet, not a revolutionary, man. Right?
Well, this could be fun. What have you guys done for your principles lately?
I called my Congress people today.
Today?
Literally today.
You're looking at it,
Told
babe.
them to vote no on a bill.
What are you talking about? What are we doing for our principals? We're putting a big old bullseye on our back, you know?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So embarrassing. But our podcast is going to change the world.
So yeah, I guess the other part of my, you would say, rationalization and cowardly self-defeat was realizing perhaps that I was of no use to the people in my actual life as someone who read Twitter all day and then like went looking for trouble at night.
That's real.
That I actually would be a vastly more useful employee, colleague, friend, boyfriend, whatever, were I to kind of, be a little more normal, be a little less revolutionary. And, you know, like, I feel like I've even experienced versions, though, of the sort of, you know, the double-edged sword of focused isolation, maybe let's call it, where, like, I think it's true that to create any kind of, who knows if it's good or bad, but to create any kind of, like, in my experience, ambitious artwork of whatever kind, you know, in my experience, that does require a degree of isolating focus that ends up making me feel kind of crazy, but also really excited. And then when the thing is done, it's like, you know, I don't know if it's good or bad or not, but to throw another, you know, one-word controversial figure in the mix, this is why I can never entirely condemn someone like Kanye West, who I obviously completely disagree with all of the disagreeable...
Are you going to give us the whole, like, Kanye West is a genius, he's such a good rapper spiel? Because people try to lay this spiel on me all the time, and I'm just like, I don't see it.
His genius is not his rapping. His genius is his combination of...
His comedy.
Innovative production, album after album after album, and completely reshaping the language of not only rap, but a large part of popular music. While, yes...
I'm sorry. You'll never get me on board with this.
And that's okay. And that's okay. But, you know, whatever. I mean, like, I assume this is probably what Nietzsche writes about when he writes about Wagner is like, you know, this guy has fucked up opinions and...
I actually have, so a friend of mine was like, this is her take on him. Because you know how he's always like dating these chicks and then he's like trying to kind of like Pygmalion, like make them perfect. So my friend was like, and I just sort of feel like this resonates. She was like, he's a trans woman who just keeps choosing these girlfriends. He has warehouses full of clothing and he just transforms them into the woman that he would like to be.
Excuse me.
Over and over and over again.
So it's like the worst case of projection of all time.
I'm not going to comment on that, but I will say that Kanye West does seem to have a deeply troubled relationship with gender and sexuality. And he did recently tweet something horrifying, which I won't repeat on here.
Wow.
But it was about his cousin. Did you guys see that?
No, can you just tell us?
It was like, he was just like, me and my cousin used to give each other blowjobs when we were children.
Huh.
So, like, I don't think we can begin to speculate on what is really going on with Kanye West. And he put that on Twitter, you know? So it's like, the man is troubled.
Fair. So here's my attempt to put a couple things into a ribbon. I guess I have, to some extent, a kind of old-fashioned, somewhat romantic idea about
Kanye West.
about artists, right?
Uh-huh.
Which is that to do something new and potentially great, you have to ignore the opinions of your contemporaries. Right?
And that's what Kanye West does every time he tweets.
And
About blowing his cousin.
I feel really bad for his cousin. Like, that's horrifying.
I do. I feel like his cousin should just sue him.
to have a chance at greatness, you gotta sack up, find a cousin.
No, Alex, don't go there.
Like a first cousin or?
I don't know, Francesca.
I was recently reading that animals have no incest taboo.
We can't get into this because Francesca is going to be super weird about it.
So, this, my somewhat perhaps, embarrassing old-fashioned, view on the way art gets made or should get made has an overlap, right, I would say, with the intellectual realm where anybody can just, like, read all the blogs or read all the academic papers and recapitulate them, and then usually what even happens is being like
be Chat GPT.
Totally.
Anybody can be Chat GPT.
Totally. What Eliezer Yudkowsky and the rationalists say is the fact that a bunch of, the unwashed masses are saying something does not make it true. And it's like, fair, I accept that premise. Several, additions to the premise later.
They deserve to fucking die.
Yes. And that anyone who doesn't not only accept the imminent arrival of the technological singularity
and veganism
deserves to die.
But this is Ziz. This is not
this
like
is
the
to get back to Ziz.
Main rationalist community.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, like, when you have certain premises such as ignore everyone who you think is wrong, you have to at some point leaven that, right, with skepticism. And,
if you only answer to your God and your God is telling you to massacre everybody,
indeed,
that's problematic.
Indeed.
But, I mean, also we celebrate those, like Joan of Arc.
Yeah, well, especially after a remove of several hundred years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like a little bit of
cute.
a different situation. Like, my understanding of the Zizian murders is that they were living in...
They were being cheap.
They were living in, like, the back of a truck on a lot, and their landlord was like, you gotta pay rent, and they kept not paying rent, and then the landlord was like, I'm gonna evict you, and then they took a machete.
I think they, like...
No, like a long saber, like a samurai sword.
Yeah.
And then they, like, attacked him.
Yeah.
Which does not call to mind Joan of Arc for me.
No, but I mean, moral fervor in action is, I would say, almost always uglier up close and personal than it is in an illuminated manuscript or on a stained glass window. I mean, I was just reading about how John Brown, like at some point took prisoners and then killed them. So that is totally irreconcilable with his moral principles. And
I guess the question is, who gets to kill? Does the state get to kill? Do the representatives of God get to kill?
Yeah, totally.
And charismatic leaders like Ziz get to kill?
And I think when we go back to, like, this idea of, like, who is special and who's smart enough, it's like we have reached some consensus as a society, which is, like, the government gets to decide that. The government gets to decide who it drone strikes, And people sleep at night not feeling like they're murderers.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think we can all I didn't mean to gesture to you, Alex, but I think we can all do the very quick contusions. Would that be the word? Contortions to get ourselves to a place of not feeling bad about inaction.
And as the Zizian's landlord found out all too personally, allegedly, contortions can lead to contusions faster than you would hope.
Right. This is all alleged.
I was going to say, yeah, no.
But here's what I want to know. But some of these kids who are just like, I was getting really deep into, like, also the crossover with the BDSM community. It's just a PR nightmare across the board for, like, progressive lifestyles, like veganism, trans issues, and the BDSM community. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, no wonder this story got buried.
Yeah, so I guess that's a part of the community. There's, like, a lot of poly. There's a lot of, like, for example, Sam Bankman-Fried and his polycule. They were very influenced by the rationalists. His girlfriend at the time, do you remember her name?
No, but I can
The one who ratted on him and who got a lower sentence?
She's very tragic looking, and the internet really took her to task for that. But I think her Twitter handle or something was like a reference to Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality.
Whoa.
And they were very into effective altruism, which
Yes.
is another idea that comes from the
Honestly, it's just kind of, to me, making me think, like, do we believe in democracy? Do you know what I mean? Like, should just, like, random people who are good at SATs, like, have so much social capital in the world where they can make these kind of decisions?
Presumably that's how Trump has now won twice.
No, I mean Sam Bankman-Fried, the son of 2 Stanford professors. Like, he's a function of democracy. And, like, do we like that?
I mean, he is in prison now.
He is in prison
Yeah.
now. And I kind of feel like SBF feels orthogonal to democracy to me.
Okay.
In the sense that, you know, I think of him as sort of part of the many decades old now, just general Silicon Valley belief that we can do it better. The government is too slow. Even most traditional private companies are too scared and stupid. We will do it better. We will disrupt, and so on. Obviously now with Elon Musk, that is being taken to its logical conclusion, and history will judge it.
I think, but people are judging him like he sucks. I can't wait until, I've always thought it was like a scam that he's the richest man in the world. I'm just like, show me the receipts. Do you know what I mean? Like,
He's worth the most.
I think it's mostly a function of
that's ephemeral. And
the
like,
companies that
the value of Tesla stock.
but like, which
is
is now tanking. And I think
deservedly. So.
deservedly. Yeah. I just feel like this is it's big fake news that he's the richest man in the world.
Well,
What?
Did we talk about Elon Musk on the last podcast? Because I do want to.
No, pray tell.
I do want to say that the last podcast we talked about this idea called Rocco's Basilisk, which is the idea that like there's going to be this AI god, and now that you've thought about it, you're responsible for bringing it into existence, and if you don't, it will punish you for all time. And according to the Zizians, that will be in a human factory farm. But how Grimes and Elon Musk met is that Grimes tweeted about Rocco's Basilisk, and then Elon Musk DM'd her, and the rest is frickin' history.
This is what I'm trying to say is like, it frightens me
That's-
that people who would, because like I heard this Rocco's Basilisk and I was like, it just is like, literally, who cares? Do you know what I mean? It's
Swipe
like
left.
Exactly. But like that the people who have so much power in this world, like they're like, that is the thing. That's disturbing to me. To me, that's a system that has elevated the wrong individuals.
Well, Elon Musk doesn't even believe in like continuing life on Earth, right? Like he believes that like the
a
future is
simulation.
on Mars.
Yeah, he also believes it's a simulation, which is like, I guess that's why I'm bemoaning, like, bring back the church. Do you know what I mean? Like let the leaders they have to be accountable to someone. Let it
Okay.
be the Pope. Do
I
you
need
know what
to
I mean?
expose something here. No. I need a truth to be told. I'll hold Tales from Watership down. Last episode we talked about the tragic death of Pope Francis, and Francesca was going off, and she has a lot of strong opinions about it. And then after we turned off the podcast, she reminded me she is not a Catholic. She is not baptized in the Catholic Church.
This is true.
So-
do you want to hear but now I have to tell the long ass story of what happened.
No, because we have to remain focused. But just
I
as
can't,
Francesca,
you can't out me as a non-Catholic without the story.
When was the last time you darkened the door of a Catholic church?
Oh, like 7 days ago.
just as Francesca calls for the Pope to be, but you know what? Be careful what you wish for, because you know who just said that he would be down to be the Pope?
Kanye West?
No, Donald Trump. And then Lindsey Graham retweeted and was like, I'm so glad that Trump said this. A dark horse candidate, but he would be great. Another non-Catholic Donald Trump. So
It would take him off our hands and put him in a position of, not entirely, of course, ceremonial authority, but closer to ceremony.
The proposition from, what's the guy's name? Lindsey Graham, is that he be both. He was like, a dual American president and Pope at the same time would be the best, most powerful position ever.
Well, I hate to say this, but in that case, it is absolutely time for a sequel to the Protestant Reformation, because church and state cannot be that much of best friends.
they already are. Be careful what you wish for, Francesca, because I think we're already seeing Christianity really with the American government. And it doesn't seem like the results are. I think your concept of Christianity is not shared by most Christians.
How so?
I think you're on your Dorothy Day shit, you know? And I think
But
that
I'm not even saying that the state is run by. I'm saying that like if the Pope was a figure of authority in the world, like if you know how Donald Trump wore a blue suit to his funeral,
yeah.
like that is that 10 years ago would have been unthinkable, right? In terms of like breaking of norms, I would say that's the most outrageous norm that Trump has broken, to wear a blue fucking suit to the funeral of the Pope, right? Which is like a symbolic gesture of respect. I'm just saying if like,
Well, he only wears red, white, and blue now. What would a Kanye West have worn to that funeral? That's what I want to know.
here's what I'm like,
What would
why
Bianca Censori
doesn't
worn?
he go? This is what I don't get about Kanye when I saw those photos of like her in that naked dress on the runway. I was like, motherfucker, I just want to see your dick out.
I was gonna say,
I was like,
so glad
can
that
I
she
just
dumped him
see?
after that.
Can I just see you naked with a little mesh? Do you know what I mean? I was like, give us the real show.
I don't want to see that.
So I awkwardly am going to put myself in the position of defending the extremely messy way that we seem to do things in our mixed government, liberal capitalist, Western democracy approach, which is to say that I think that the eccentricities, and ultimately with someone like Kanye, Trump, you know, not just the eccentricities, but the, you know, raw, volcanic ego, terror, rage, hatefulness. I do ultimately believe that fragments of that, at least, are in all of us, and that anyone elevated to a position of such wealth and prominence, in the case of a very successful rapper producer like Kanye, who has said incredibly horrible things that
Fashion designer.
can never be.
I just like don't think his music's very good, but whatever.
That's fine. And, you know, in the case of someone like Trump, obviously all the things. So, you know, we just did have, right, a pope who was considered less horrible, and that's cool.
Less horrible. Okay.
But,
Whatever.
you know, I don't know. What is it that you want to go back to in the sense of, basically it's like
Moral authority in something outside of just the realm of the, like, the rule of the market and, like, king of the nerds, I guess.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that, so maybe like the year 1000, because that I think was maybe the last time that you had papal authority as it's like, this is at least I think what Henry Adams says, is that was approximately the last time that you had, you know, a unified Western world. Now, I'm a defender of the huge qualification, the pro-social, pro-peace, wealth distributing, less hateful, more accepting, pluralistic aspects of the capital W West. And all the fucked up things are fucking horrible. And when I think about the coup in Guatemala and Henry Kissinger's face, I suddenly do want to fucking kill people. So I think that the kind of like messy everything all the time is in many ways better than alternatives such as like
The Crusades.
yeah, and the Pope is right, and no one can criticize the Pope, and all the fucking peasants are starving, and the first time the peasants tried to rise up, they are completely fucking crushed and anonymous.
So then who would you propose to keep the exceedingly wealthy like Elon Musk in check?
Well, I just want to bring it back to the rationalists, which is that I think that the goal of the rationalist community, at least at the start, was to like find a morality based on being rational.
But look where it got them.
Yeah.
Some of them.
It worked for some people. Like I would say it worked for my husband.
The Zizians they were cast out. They
Yeah,
were cast out.
yeah.
And the Zizians would say, we were cast out because we are the Puritans and the levelers and the you know, Luddites. History will redeem us. And it's possible. I doubt it, but it's
I don't
possible.
know if
Unlikely.
for murdering your old. The thing is that like they're
Well, I don't know.
they're
You guys
violent.
were very, 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 like, all of a sudden, a minute ago, you guys were, like, really ready to go to any length for somebody else's principles, you know, in the sense of me. Whatever, I'm still thinking about that part of the conversation.
Wait, what? I'm confused. What are you referencing?
How we were making fun of Alex.
It's
Oh, because
easy.
you didn't like being in prison?
Would you fucking like it, Georgetown?
Hell no. Whoa. Okay, where'd you go to college, Alex?
I know that was mentioned last time, but where did Francesca go?
Oh, I've claimed my seat.
These bitches are Ivy League, okay? I'm Georgetown Ivy League rejects.
No, that Georgetown is where you go to actually have power in
I actually
American
always
dominated
forget
world.
that Dartmouth is
I
in the
studied
Ivy League.
performing arts, so I don't think that I was destined for great power.
So here's the thing. Arguably,
Yeah.
what you were talking about before, because it's relevant, people's educations, you were like, democracy. What's up with democracy that the people who are powerful are powerful? It's a good question, but isn't the concept, myth, whatever, of meritocracy more interesting here? Because at this point, democracy has spread over most-ish of the world.
Fact check that. I don't. Most-ish of the world? No.
This is right. This is one of the thing is that it gets you yelled at on the wrong part of Twitter to point it out.
I don't care. I don't give a fuck about that. I literally mean, like, you give me bare numbers, more than half the number of nations in the world. Are you doing it by population, by countries? What are you talking about?
I think that both by population and by countries, most countries are at this point some form of democracy. And
okay, well, this is interesting. I'm willing to accept your premise, and we will fact check it and bring it back next time.
So one of the Ziz blog post that I think the most about has her basically saying, basically taking the premise of like hated centrist pseudo intellectuals like Steven Pinker, people who Steven Pinker is a Harvard professor. He wrote a book about how violence is declining,
like Malcolm Gladwell kind of people.
Yes,
which is. But
isn't that just because there's not lead in the paint anymore?
These are great questions.
No, like global violence.
Oh, but also there was a crime wave in this. There was like higher violence incidences in the 70s, but I think that's correlated to the lead paint.
These are all I think they're open questions that deserve to be contested and are being contested. And I also think that like 2 heads are better than 1, and a couple million heads are better than 2, right? Which is why I think the Pope.
But you do believe in the American president?
Deserves criticism.
Wait. Okay, so Ziz's blog post.
Oh yeah, sorry. Ziz basically is like, so here's something that's been happening in our wider rhetorical discursive environment for several decades. Someone who is, let's say, a hardcore Bernie guy goes online or into the public square and is like, our system is corrupt, it's fucked. Any fucking like I can get teary-eyed like reading the speeches of like, a Eugene Debs, right? If there's anyone in the poorhouse, I am him. If there's anyone in a prison anywhere, I am him. No, I didn't like being in jail, which is exactly why fewer people should be in jail if we can fucking manage it. So like Bernie person says shit is fucked up, right? What was the famous thing? The Malcolm Harris, the famous sign at Occupy Wall Street was shit is fucked up and bullshit. And I think that ended up being the title of a Malcolm Harris book. So shit is fucked up and bullshit. Totally. It is, right? How could we be so rich and have people starving anywhere in the world? Although way, way fewer than ever used to, right? How could we be so rich and have like, all this stuff?
Because Israel's blockading Gaza and there's no food, but...
Indeed.
Children are now dying of malnutrition there, which had never happened before. An 11-month-old just died a few days ago from malnutrition because he doesn't have any formula.
It's unacceptable, right? It's unacceptable. It's much the way American leftists of the more radical variety felt when we were making war against the Vietnamese people. They would
great historic American success.
Well,
story.
And people set themselves on fire to protest it. You know what I mean? Like they were ready to.
Or what's really wild is they planted bombs in federal buildings, and then later, even after serving time for domestic terrorism, they live out their days even now as full professors at major universities.
Bail heirs, absolutely. Although maybe worth noting that even a figure as radical as Bernadine Dorn did later explicitly denounce the violent methods by which she went about her radicalism.
Is a denunciation so hard, though, Alex?
Well, not everyone does that, right? I mean, like, I was reading about the early 20th century anarchists who planted bombs that killed people, unlike the Weathermen who managed not to do that except themselves. The like hardcore anarchists of the early 20th century in this country, Alexander Berkman, Emma Goldman. Emma Goldman is synonymous with radicalism, right? And it wasn't until I stumbled across this random newish book about the radicals of this time that I found out that Emma Goldman lived long enough to explicitly renounce violent change.
You know what we need to do a book review of? Because I don't think we ever read it. Remember when we were looking for how nonviolence protects the state?
Yeah. So something I'll say, which I think I've told you, is that my best friends in the whole wide world, I won't say her name to protect her, but she's getting a PhD in anarchy.
Just go right to the center of the institution
and
to get your degree.
Yeah, there's only like one program in the world, and I think there's only one spot, and I think she has it. But we were having a conversation once, and basically about the ineffectiveness of voting. You know how like expressing that like voting doesn't feel like it does enough. And then I was like, well, what is there to be done? And she goes, you could blow up a pipeline. Now, she's extreme. She would never. She literally gets on you about table manners. For an anarchist, she's like very polite. But anyway, I digress.
Which makes sense given that she's decided to further her career via the literally medieval institution of a doctoral program in a university probably founded thousands of years ago with slave labor. But
yeah, and she has a lot of conflicting feelings about it. But go on.
Conflicting feelings are the name of the game, right? And I think...
Well, what is your stance on environmental terrorism, Alex?
Well, given the fact that, I hate to say it, but that presentation that you saw about the Earth about to be...
This is a whole other topic I think we have to address a different time, because I also just don't believe you, and you're going to have to show me the science.
That the Earth... So your feeling is that the Earth is about to be uninhabitable? Because there is a...
Yeah. Like 35 years. I mean, I'm not like barring putting aerosols or something in the atmosphere.
So when would you guess...
what did I was trying to bet you the other day? Like $1,000 there won't be like a national power grid in 30 years, but you wouldn't take the bet?
So the reason that people think that the Earth is going to be uninhabitable anytime in the next thousands of years, much less hundreds, much less tens of years, is because of David Wallace's book, The Uninhabitable Earth.
It's not just because of that book, dude. That book was not on the cutting edge of reporting on that.
Do you know
it might have gotten the most like New York Times bestseller list.
Do you know what happened? Do you know what the general scientific consensus was on that book when it came out?
What?
That it was alarmist.
Just because we don't need to settle petty grievances on air.
Well, I think the future of sentient life, speaking of Ziz, is not exactly petty. I think that also, like, I don't know, man, how many fucking teens are there out there who are like on the fucking bleeding edge of deciding whether to kill themselves or not, and then they go online and someone who has done some of the research but not all of it is like, the world's ending anyway, and they're like, you know what, I'm out.
You're gonna pin us with having the personal responsibility to communicate the moral integrity of someone continuing their life?
Oh, no. I'm just going to say that I will never let you sit there and be like, Earth is about to lose the capacity to maintain life, and think that is based on literally anything resembling...
okay, great. So that sounds like a fab challenge.
My intuition, it's probably going to be fine. So we should probably all just stick around and see what happens. Don't kill yourself.
Totally. I completely endorse what Sarah says, but I do think that this is you've thrown the gauntlet down. So let's readdress in 2 months.
Yeah. And then in 20 years, when it looks like we will probably end up at about...
Great. So you
cumulative 2.9 Celsius, which is bad, but also we're all here complaining about it.
We've gotten really off track, guys. I feel like I'm like with my parents and they're fighting. Okay, just checking in. Alex, how are you doing?
No, good. No, I mean, this is the stuff that I love. This is the stuff that I love is getting into the nitty gritty, right?
The nitty gritty.
I specifically have an article that I've indexed and will reference and will hand you once we've finished this.
Amazing. I can't wait to see
the nitty gritty.
I cannot wait to see the GeoCities ass URL that you're about to send me from a very, very, very...
Oh no, it's from a super reputable.
I might have a bridge back.
Okay, go for it.
Which is the utility of voting versus violence. Because it is extremely easy to sit here in the opulence in which we are objectively sitting here and talk about voting not working, and maybe the people who are, blowing things up are onto something. We can say that in our, by the way, opulence with a bookshelf that isn't even like using all of its space literally right behind us.
And just really quickly, none of us endorse blowing things up just for legal reasons. I just want to be clear.
Yeah, it's way fucking more than legal reasons. So like, yes, democracy is fucking messy, but we had at least 10,000, probably a fucking 100,000 years of human society in which the evidence of like any kind of fucking serious human group that was anything other than brutally patriarchal is negligible. And in the last 300 years, a bunch of fucking shit has happened, which has made some things worse. And now women own property. Vote.
Not this woman.
But if I
heads of state.
So that's like. But if I don't get to like, if the state's gonna separate me from my children half the time, like, what the fuck does it matter?
Half the time? What is?
Well, let's not investigate that too much. But like, what does it fucking matter to me if I can own property? If like my life has no meaning and purpose.
Wait, that's not how you feel.
It's not how I feel. But I'm saying like, Yes, I hear you. You believe that progress has been achieved in certain categories. I am saying you cannot excise from that the category of like spiritual fulfillment among the populace. You cannot just take that out of consideration.
You find me the cuneiform tablet that says we feel super fucking spiritually fulfilled right now, not the cuneiform tablet that says why have the gods gone silent, which by the way, there are cuneiform tablets that say that. This is just how it fucking feels to be alive. Disillusioned, confused, disappointed, maybe excited if you're willing to be that brave. And the day of magical spiritual fulfillment is not for us on this earth.
Here, I can solve this problem. I can actually solve this problem right now. Francesca, say when you feel like society really worked.
Well, pre-lapsarian.
Before Eden. Before the Garden of Eden. Okay, so that's... Alex, just chill. Don't take her bait. It's not going to happen, Francesca.
I guess I don't believe in
what
progress.
What even is before the Garden of Eden?
Like, so maybe pre-agriculture?
Yeah. Yes.
So would be...
Yeah.
I doubt there was agriculture in the Garden of Eden.
No, yeah, pre-agriculture. If we're talking historically. Spirit, like mentally, pre-lapsarian, historically, pre-agriculture.
There are still uncontacted tribes. You could go join one.
Totally.
But you would probably kill all of them they have Stone Age immunities. And they would probably kill you.
No, they'd probably kill me first, for sure. Yeah. No, I'm not trying to crash the party of some other tribe that I'm not a part of. I'm just, look, we are really getting off base, but I can, like... If you look at, there was something that came out within the last 5 years that talked about, like, if we're trying to look at progress in terms of like, okay, we have the 40-hour work week, which you could say those 40 hours, you're putting in work at your job to get money in order to purchase food and shelter and stuff. And they were looking at the 40-hour work week in today's culture versus in more hunter-gatherer environments, the number of hours they spend per week on getting food, like housekeeping, maintaining structures. And it looks like the amount that they work, right, to do all those things is about 20 hours a week, right? And we are doing at least 40, most people here. And so by that metric alone, they have a lot more time to relax than we did. So if you're simply looking at progress through the lens of like, how much free time do you have to just kick it? The modern world is not succeeding on that metric.
I mean, if we have potentially be eviscerated by a bear, potentially have your entire tribe.
So yes, I guess I would say in my moral universe, the risk of being eviscerated by a bear is not like, I would not trade a life of mundane, repetitious tasks so that I might never be eviscerated.
You might think about getting arrested and going to jail soon, because if you are actually so indifferent to your own level of comfort and opulence, then maybe you should actually try like experimenting in less comfort.
I think we have enough time to relax if we had the time to start this podcast. That's all I'm saying. You don't have time to start a podcast if you know.
But I think it's like on a society-wide level, especially here in New York, like people, at least my experience, it's like people are, I mean, maybe that you don't see this, but people are like tired. They are worn out. They are drained. Do you not feel like that's true?
Yeah, Augustine of Hippo talked about how his friends felt that life in Carthage was too hectic, literally. Again, the cuneiform here will unfortunately
I know, but that's post-agriculture, man, so I can't really speak to that from my perspective.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, totally.
You know what's funny is the last fight I got in a straight dude about anything was with my friend Jay, and it was about this exact topic, and he also got heated. There's some correlation. Maybe it's because straight men have created and provided this society that I should be so grateful to be participating in, that they get really, really mad about specifically the comfort aspect, that I would never be able to tolerate the discomfort. But I want to say, I've given birth to a child without pain medication on the floor of my bathroom. So I'm intimately familiar with pain and discomfort, right? But to me, having that peak of pain like brought a value and a perspective to my life in its entirety. I do not want to run away from pain just for itself. You know what I'm saying?
No, totally. And, that does lead us very quickly, nicely into very, very fascistic politics and Carl Schmitt and, pain is value and work will set you free. Yes, of course, life has suffering involved. But if we actually want to talk about the semi-measurable amounts of suffering, let's say deaths from natural disasters per capita per year, way the fuck down. Let's say famine. Way the fuck down. And let's say democracy and women's suffrage, items that you can fucking belittle it all day, but matter a great deal to me. We are doing fucking amazing is the truth. That is the fucking truth.
If you compare, in the scheme of history, but at this particular moment, maybe not so much.
I mean zoomed way back. Yes,
Yeah.
I mean zoomed way back. But what just happened with Trump has happened at least twice before in American history with Jackson and with Jefferson. I mean, a bunch of fucking people who think they're really fucking smart and know the way people should live, having power in the world, like the fucking Federalist Party in the early Republic. The Federalists were sure that they had everything figured out. They actually did not even believe they were a political party. They were like, we're the landed gentry. We have all the good ideas. Slavery's fine. Obviously, women will never vote.
Obviously.
We're chilling, right? And then Jefferson comes along with his very inconvenient ideas. He's like, no, more people should vote. And yes, landed gentry's great, and slavery's actually fine for now. Hopefully, in the future, it's abolished. But, more people should vote.
But how do you feel? I mean, but this is the first election where it was actually bad for Democrats for there to be greater voter turnout. So do you still believe more people should vote if those people are explicitly Republican and want to put and keep Trump in power?
I mean, my principles forbid me from
But how do you
trying to
really
suppress
how
votes.
do you really
Yeah,
feel,
I do.
Alex?
I'm pretty sure that my heart rate right now would indicate the sincerity of my statements, Francesca. I don't know how much that really...
I do think that people should turn out to vote, and I think that the solution is that if the Democrats want people to vote for them, I think they should make it appealing. So
Totally. But it's interesting to cast Trump and his administration as people who are like the landed gentry who are smart and think they know, as opposed to the Democratic elites.
That's just it, Francesca.
So you don't feel that way?
We're the gentry. The Ivy League educated.
So then you should be celebrating what's happening right now. It is not the rule of the gentry.
There was a little mini. This is what happens not just in democracies, but in all forms of government, right? People have power, they become comfortable in power, they become corrupt, they are overturned. The new people come in and say, we'll fix everything. And then you blink, and then those people have become corrupt, right? So it happens over and fucking over. By us, I mean, yes, the meritocratic, Ivy League educated, this is essentially what happened, somewhere between Kennedy and Nixon, right? Is that at a certain point, people got pissed off at the people in power who were very smug and really thought they knew what they were doing. And the cycle continues. Plato, right, did take very seriously the question of why is it that we do not just live in peaceful communes that are flat and anarchic. This is my understanding is that is a big chunk of what the Republic is wrestling with. And his interlocutors, the interlocutors of the Socrates character are like, well, what would you do? What would you do? What would you do? He's like, oh, well, I don't know. All I know is that I don't know. Okay, fine, I'll tell you. First of all the women and children are property. We put them over there. The soldiers can do whatever they want, and they'll be really smart, and they'll guard the city, and everything will be great. That's how we have the ideal, peaceful, joyous thing, right? Meanwhile, what the Athenian fucking women thought of that is not fucking recorded, to my knowledge. So, the fact that it's sorry,
can I just say that I think what that makes me think of is like this question of like, do we really want to be free? You know, like, are we all
Before we get into that,
looking?
can we check his mic? Because I don't think his mic is working.
Oh no.
No, it is working.
Really?
Yeah, say something, Alex.
I heard a change in my
I know I turned you down a little bit because you were shouting.
oral environment.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, good. I'm so glad.
Before we start.
Okay, so maybe people don't really want to be free.
Well, maybe people are, yeah, like if people are out here creating an AI god, you know, that like is going to enslave the human population. It's like
to replace a god that they just killed a couple, like 30 years ago.
having a freedom is a huge responsibility. And I think that we are all too eager to give it away, you know? And I think that's why someone like Trump, who has this kind of like, the charisma of like a demigod, you know, or like that's how people respond to him, is so appealing because he's kind of like, all right, sit back, you know, like I'm gonna make America great again, and like you don't have to worry about it. And people really took that to heart, you know. And I think it's like it's relief to have something to believe in, and it's relief to like not be free, you know. It's a tremendous responsibility.
I think that's real.
Like, I don't know if I want to, you know, like, as someone who believes in God, like, it's nice to believe that I'm not in power.
The be all end all.
Yeah.
The alpha and the omega.
You know, I can get really excited about the Protestant Reformation until I remember that they ended up being the people who closed the theaters in England, and then I don't know.
Why would you get really excited about the Protestant Reformation?
Because one man cannot have that much power. That's one thing that Kanye was right about.
You mean the Pope?
I mean the Pope.
Listen, the Catholic Church has a lot of problems. We don't need to get into it, but...
Yeah, but I just think, I guess this is the most boring perspective of all. I guess I'm just bemoaning the departure from norms. I don't want to live in a world where it's okay to wear blue to the Pope's funeral.
Francesca, that seems like such small potatoes right now.
I don't think it is. Can I tell you why? Because to me, like, the man, it's just a microcosm. Like, the man shows no deference, right? He only worships, like, his own power and what it can get him. So much so that he won't even do, like, the barest sartorial gesture of respect to someone who's, like, at least was the head of the faith for 1.4 billion people. To me, like, that's a man who, like, would drop to me, that shows me that that's a man who would, like, drop a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, like, as would, like, probably most people in our government. I don't know, you know?
I actually,
If
I
the
don't know.
right-
I'm sure there's some studies about, I don't know that many people have the disposition to push the button on the bomb.
Sure, but I think, like, if you look at it, okay, like, if not the literal bomb, but I think, like, the amount of bombs that have been dropped on Gaza equate to, like, multiple nuclear bombs, you know?
Totally. But I think that, I don't know if this totally makes sense, but, like, it's much easier to press the button for a smaller, for like if we get used to the idea of pressing the smaller ones, then, like, that only, it's this incrementalism that will get you towards doing the horrible thing. It's like the smallness of not wearing the suit, like, it's all just steps on a path. And I guess I feel like the momentum, it builds and it builds and it builds, and then one day we will find ourselves in a world we do not know, where things that were once completely unacceptable, like deporting a 4-year-old with stage 4 cancer to another country without their medicine, suddenly become okay.
Yeah, I think we're there, baby.
We're there. And I think it starts with not wearing the right color suit.
I do still wonder about Sarah's question about when the norms were just right.
I don't know, because when the norms were right for some, they were wrong for others. I don't know. I don't know that there's a pre-lapsarian paradise of norms. But there are some things we can agree on, which is also you just don't wear black to a wedding, in my personal opinion. But I don't know. That world has passed. But I guess another thing that I like about the church that Sarah has outed me as not formally being a member of is, like, there is something to ritual, right? Like, there is something to, like, this is the way that things are done. Like, if you make pasta, like, there's, you know, like in America, we just will throw pasta into anything with any kind of shaped noodle. And if you go to Italy, they'll say like non no fa, like that is not done. You don't use a rigatoni with a certain kind of sauce. It is not done, you know? And I feel like we are in a world that doesn't have enough things like that anymore, where everything's a free-for-all, where someone like Ziz, who clearly is fucking deeply disturbed, is given the birth to like gather followers and be the head of a movement, who's faked and escaped her own death multiple times.
I would say that's actually skill in this modern day and age with all, you know, like that used to be nothing, right? Like anybody could just fall off the grid. Today to fall off the grid, it's quite impressive.
Where is she now?
Jail. Prison.
Is she in a women's prison or a men's prison?
That I don't know, but I am curious about what it would be like to not give people the birth to have their opinions and assemble. Right? I mean,
yeah. I don't know. I don't know
how long
where
either of us would like having people forbid us from certain opinions.
Yeah, I guess maybe the question of like, okay, what steps in like a shame-based society, right? That we like socially sanction and shame those whose ideas fall outside. That somebody who like goes to a picnic with children in a Guy Fawkes masks and like scares a bunch of kids, right? That like the people in their group would like look at them and say like, oh, like we're ashamed of you. You've broken social norms. You've like, so we're going to we're going to distance ourselves from you. I'm not saying it necessarily needs to function in a governmental way, but like that some things are not okay, which you were saying earlier, right? With your transition between being an anarchist and then like moving into violence, right? Like some things have to be sacred.
Yeah.
Right. So what are those things?
Right. At a certain point in history, a woman wanting to get divorced, much less fly across the world and, you know, travel freely would mean that you would be worthy of being burned as a witch. Right. So like,
what? When could flying correspond? You taking an airplane correspond with burning witches?
I guess we didn't invent the plane until recently enough to have a big enough data set here. Mm-hmm. But surely you're picking and choosing what shames.
Well, surely you pick and choose as well.
I just want to point out we're like at an hour. I feel like you guys could keep fighting for a long time. Alex, you seem stressed. Do you want to kind of?
I might just be dehydrated.
Do you want some water?
No. I mean, yeah, maybe.
Here.
Take
a sip.
Nice big water.
In the 30s in New York, I'll just say I recently read Mary McCarthy's The Group, and if you wanted to get a divorce, what people would do was women would be for hire, and then they would hire a woman, they would hire a private investigator, and then the husband would go see this woman, and then the wife would send the private investigator to catch them in the act. It was very dramatic.
This is like a fault divorce versus no fault divorce.
Yeah.
Another topic we could
I would love to be the woman performer in that situation. I feel like I'd be great at that job.
Oh my God. That does sound fun. I would love a novel from the perspective of the... Is that what The Group is? Is a novel from the perspective of...
No, that's just like one anecdote in it. But Alex, tell us where you're at.
Yeah. The 10th century. No. This is the thing, right? Is to be open-minded enough. Well,
I guess Francesca, you gotta chill.
He won't watch it, but my coworker Tom, if he didn't already hate some of my beliefs, let me just cement his hatred. I hold with Karl Popper, who felt that the moral radicalism of Marx is something that we should cling to as a species forever. The ability to step back and be like, this is wrong, even if everyone around me is saying that it's right, is absolutely priceless. And I think that it's something that the example of a Christ, you know, would bear out. The example of, but yeah, Joan of Arc, I mean, I think it is in line with Kantianism, whatever the fuck. And he felt that in the real world, perhaps because of the general corruption of human nature, the actual implementations of Marxism, actually by its very own standard of moral radicalism, were in many cases completely unacceptable, right? I mean, it is not that many steps from, whatever, disenfranchising and starving the peasants to the gulags. And that started with really, really, really good ideas and really, really, really admirable sentiments. So I guess for whatever reason, I just, I do have a certain zest for the messiness of life as it is actually lived. And the completely irreconcilable, completely frustrating, completely annoying, endlessness of the ongoing debate over all of these issues. I think that being exhausted and angry and annoyed while engaged in the ultimately priceless conversation about how we should live and how we should organize our city, our human city, that to me is a life worth living, and sometimes involves going to jail, but not always.
And it's a privilege, right?
It is very much a privilege.
And if you don't like it, you can put on your black robes and your Guy Fawkes mask and go out there and just, bully people about veganism and see where that gets you.
The veganism of the Zizians is actually the thing that I agree with them the most about.
Totally. It is the ethical and moral high ground, I would say.
But I guess as a former vegan who was vegan for years, I don't know. It's like, this is just going to piss you off more, Alex. But like, I was vegan because I believed in not harming animals and all that stuff. But it made me so sick. And I ate the beans and the rice. I know about the combination of the fucking amino acids. You don't have to lecture me on that. I was vegan for 3 years. It made me so sick. I didn't finish puberty until I was 18, right? And I grew 2 inches. Like, I could barely walk anywhere. Like, not like I was not capable of walking. I was so exhausted all the time. Walking 5 blocks was like, so it's like, yes, is that the moral thing to do? But like, must we make choices that directly, although they are choices for the larger good, directly harm ourselves?
Do you mean like going to jail as a conscientious objector, or
I don't know,
killing an unjust person?
Just putting it out there. I don't know. Am I morally obligated to do something which is the right thing, like be a vegan, even if it's to great personal detriment?
Wait, so you just did an hour of speeches about how what society is missing is the ability to enforce moral obligations, and now you're suddenly shirking from those moral obligations? Because that's fucking crazy.
I don't know if I'm shirking them. I'm putting forth a thought experiment.
You are, I think, giving an excuse for, as you guys said, my excuse was that I didn't like being in jail. Your excuse was that you didn't,
Sorry. Go ahead.
A difference of a few hours versus a few years. But anyway.
Did someone make you be a vegan rather than a vegetarian who was able to, whatever, presumably get enough chemicals while not...
No, I was a vegetarian first, and then my fervor became more concrete.
Because if we really want to talk about it, factory farms are essentially Gazas in miniature all over the fucking world that make...
So do you personally feel you can stand by equating human children with chickens?
I am nowhere near confident enough about what it feels like to be a cow or a pig, very intelligent animals with a full range of feeling, obviously. Cows, by the way, who, even if they are only suffering for dairy, are, of course, forcibly impregnated, raped their entire lives, have their calf immediately taken away. They will cry. Many videos of this that people don't like watching. They will physically cry with grief because their calf is taken away. That calf might be slaughtered, and then they are forcibly impregnated again so that I can...
Are you a vegetarian?
Have milk. For a couple months now, I have been, yeah.
Oh, really?
So the fervor of the newly
Wait,
converted.
is this Ziz inspired?
And it all comes out.
Theodora has been a vegetarian for years and never once tried to convert me.
Those are the best ones.
Turned out that my premises were not as sturdy as I thought.
So I have 2 comments. One is, yes, I have looked into the eyes of a cow, and I do believe that cows have souls. And the second thing I would say as an answer to your question about are we obligated to do the right thing, even if it costs us, even at great personal detriment to ourselves, I would say the answer as a Catholic is yes. So that's my personal opinion. I do believe that I'm obligated to suffer for the sake of others.
What if that suffering, I mean, I don't know if it, I have nothing emotionally attached to me being vegan or not, so it's indifferent to me. But I don't know, I guess it makes me think of like, sure, I could still be vegan and still be 5'2", I guess, or 5'1", and but I might have not have been able to like be helpful to people in my life, have kids, because I had such a hard time like literally doing it. I was like deeply anemic. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Is that I don't know how to evaluate these gains and these harms.
Well, I actually don't. I personally don't think eating meat is immoral. I think factory farms are immoral.
Got it.
I mean, trying to weigh trade-offs is exactly how one ends up being a squishy incrementalist believer in the possibility of progress.
Yeah. Which and I just like I never really thought about it that much. I was just like I did it for years, and then I stopped doing it because mostly my boyfriend kept like trying to slip me food, and I was really hungry.
Were you taking like supplements?
I was like doing the whole thing. I was eating the massive food. I was also a dancer at the time, so I was like dancing 6 hours a day. Whatever. Most people would say I was healthy, but like I was deeply unhealthy, which was evidenced by the fact that I grew fucking 2 inches at like 18 and a half, you know? Anyway, I don't know. Maybe that would have been a better life, a more moral life. I don't fucking know. But I don't really, I guess to me, as soon as I made the change, I was like, oh, of course, now I'm here again. I can think clearly. I can walk. This is the path that's right, you know?
Do you think it's possible that you being able to make different choices for yourself and evaluate the consequences of those choices was perhaps more, in the end, fulfilling and rich with meaning than having been instructed and forced to go one way or the other?
I mean, I wish I had maybe I would be 5'7" if I had just listened to my mother who said, don't you fucking do this when I became vegan.
What did you lose in life by not being 5'7"?
I mean, Sarah, who could say? I mean, I could have been a contender, you know?
As a person who's 5'6.5", I feel like I have no great advantages in life. Okay.
Dunking on the haters.
I feel like we've gone over an hour, so I guess, like, Alex, do you have any closing remarks?
I look forward to reviewing the tape and seeing how Francesca took literally every possible position on liberal individualism at complete fucking odds with herself. Therefore, arguably demonstrating the exact necessity of that framework because we are all so self-contradictory, and also apologizing for my over fervor. Thank you for your patience with my fervor about moderation.
Thank you for coming on again, Alex. It's been a pleasure. I'm very tense right now. I'm very conflict averse.
I feel...
Oh, really? I just see conflict. And when I see physical violence, my instinct is to run right toward it.
I have a stomach ache.
I'm sorry.
No,
I feel
fine.
okay, actually. I think I got most of it out. I'm sorry.
Nothing like lighting up a straight guy, you know?
Indeed.
Okay. See you next time.